EA's been getting a bit of a beating in the news this week after the disastrous launch of Star Wars Battlefront II. Allegations of pay-to-win, fan outrage and now gambling investigations have really put a dent in their reputation. Well, now EA's chief financial officer has tried to explain his company's side of the story, and we didn't write the end of this sentence.
Speaking this week at the 21st Credit Suisse Annual Technology, Media and Telecom Conference, EA's CFO Blake Jorgensen gave some insight into EA's decision to pull microtransactions in Star Wars Battlefront II. Speaking at the conference, Jorgensen said, quote, "We pulled off on the microtransactions because the real issue the consumer had was they felt it was a pay-to-win mechanic. The reality is there are different types of players in games. Some people have more time than money, and some people have more money than time. You want to always balance those two." Jorgensen was also asked about Battlefront's progression system and why EA didn't make the loot box system purely cosmetic, instead of offering ability upgrades in the form of star cards. The CFO explained that because Disney is so protective over their Star Wars IP, any cosmetic items would need to be approved by them before they could be implemented into the game. Jorgensen said, quote, "It's an amazing brand that's been built over many, many years. So if you did a bunch of cosmetic things, you might start to violate the canon. Darth Vader in white probably doesn't make sense versus in black. Not to mention, you probably don't want Darth Vader in pink."
This is a chief financial officer talking finance to a bunch of other people who are interested in finance, and he is saying here, the reality is that some players just don't have enough time, and that, it's not really pay to win. Well, it is. How can it not be pay to win? If you want to advance your multiplayer character, you need to open up loot boxes, and you can pay to open up those loot boxes if you want. Therefore, pay to win. In terms of having their hands tied by Disney, I think people already understood that this would be the case. No chance in hell could you change the skin colours and stuff like that on Disney characters. I'm sure you could do it and it could still be cool, but Disney want it to look like Star Wars. It's got to look like Star Wars, so you can't go crazy with it.
This is the game where you can be Han Solo versus Yoda versus Darth Vader versus Lando.
Yeah.
And that's okay canonically. Is that the right word? Canonically?
Yes, absolutely fine. You go.
There's loads of different eras of Star Wars, like Darth Vader, for example. Why don't you have him with his helmet, without his helmet, half a helmet, tattered cloak? He doesn't have to be wearing pink. Why do you have to go straight for pink, Blake?
And Clone Wars as well, the Clone Wars series, part of that, the kind of canon of that is that the clones kind of customise themselves, and that because they are all exact replicas of each other, that's how you distinguish the characters, because they've got like tattoos, different paint jobs on their armour and stuff. They just see the CSGO, which does have like pink camouflage AK-47s. You don't have to go down that route. You can still have customization without all that shite, but they said no, it's impossible. Disney tied our hands. I can see that Disney would be too strict on it, and I can totally understand, but it is bollocks because of Connect Star Wars. But Jorgensen also said that despite the controversy around Battlefront 2 and complaints about a pay-to-win progression system, EA is not giving up on the idea of microtransactions. Quote, "We're learning and listening to the community in terms of how best to roll that out in the future, and there's more to come as we learn more." He said more twice. But I would say we're certainly not changing our strategy. We feel like we've nailed that in the sports games, and we'll continue to try and find the best model that works in the non-sports games. So he's just said there exactly what all of us thought. They try stuff out with the sports, because maybe that community is a bit more accepting of stuff like this, and then they just spread it to everything else, and then that's exactly what's happened here.
They always try and make everything seem inclusive, like we were saying a little bit earlier. What they're saying is it's not pay to win. We're just looking after this demographic of people that have got more money than time and more money than sense, clearly.
It's all about options, isn't it? It's always about choice.
Yeah. Obviously this is super snaky sounding talk, but this is exactly what happens when a bunch of financial officers get together to talk about, well, money and numbers, and that's all it is to them, isn't it? So of course it's not going to be like how he would address us. He'd be like, "We've heard the feedback. It's crystal clear." Like always crystal clear, always hearing the feedback.
The line in there as well about how best to implement it, don't implement it. That's how best to do it. There was an article on some website, I can't remember what it was, I'm sure whoever's editing this can put the link on screen right now to give credit, Jake. EA are completely snookered now because they can't monetize it through DLC and season passes, because if they went back on their promise to make it free, it would be an outrage. They can't implement this model back in there as it is, because it would be an outrage. They can't do the cosmetics and whatnot because their hands are tied by Disney. So what do? How do they monetize it? They can't. They've just got an old-fashioned game where all you get is the money from the sale. How terrible for them. But microtransactions weren't the only thing Jorgensen spoke out about this week. He also shared his perspective on the closure of Dead Space studio Visceral Games and how the market for linear single-player games is apparently smaller than it used to be. Speaking out about the Visceral Games Star Wars project, Jorgensen said, quote, "As we kept reviewing the game, it continued to look like a much more linear game, which people don't like as much today as they did 5 years ago or 10 years ago." According to Jorgensen, the decision to close Visceral and rework their game was purely financial. He said they were considered a sub-scale studio, better suited to smaller projects. Quote, "You gotta cut the bridge when you realise you can't make a lot of money on something."
And speaking of not making any money, EA's share prices recently took a dip after the Battlefront II controversy, the effect of which has started to show. According to CNBC, the share price dip has wiped around $3 billion off the value of EA as a company. Analysts say EA's share price had fallen by 8.5% over the past week, whereas rivals like Activision, Ubisoft and Rockstar saw increases in their shares. Theories from analysts as to why this happened include underwhelming Black Friday sales, as well as, of course, gambling investigations into Battlefront 2's loot boxes, and a very angry Disney. Mostly that, really.
The angry Disney. Don't make a Disney angry.
So before we get into like the 3 billion, because that's obviously a huge number, I hate the very beginning of this part of the voiceover. Blake Jorgensen says, "Oh, the games that are online are a lot more successful." And it's like, well, you haven't really given us a choice. EA have been making games with online features the whole time. And then they're saying, well, our single player titles haven't been selling as much. Because you don't f***ing make any.
It's telling the audience what they want, isn't it? It's like, Taylor Lautner is a famous celebrity. He's an action hero now. Is Taylor Lautner an action hero? Is he a leading man now? No, he's not.
They are giving you one option and then saying, this is our most popular option. As you can see here, single player just doesn't happen. Cutting the bridge, that's it. Visceral's legacy. Yeah. Visceral are there, the Dead Space series is there. On a bridge, here you've gone, see you, mate. Into the pit of snakes you go.
He basically just says flat out that Visceral, the project was too ambitious. It was looking too promising, and we couldn't make enough money off it. So rather than like double down on it, they went, let's just sack it off and make it more financially viable. In other words, how can we put microtransactions in it? Shows that they are making some bad decisions, and maybe that they should assess that rather than just kind of plow on anyway and just pause things and freeze things and pull things back if they get too much outrage. They've lost $3 billion of their share value and they're going, oh, this game didn't have microtransactions and loot boxes in it, so therefore we cancelled it, obviously. That attitude is the problem.
It looks like the gaming community have finally hit them in, a sort of language they understand. They don't understand memes, they don't understand downvotes, they don't understand money and shares. Will this be like the Windsor change? I doubt it, to be honest. It's going to be
because he's just said we closed Visceral because there's no microtransactions in it.
Not an answer.
Oh my god! Yeah, that was in the same room at the same time you said that.
Visceral's already dead though, so we just don't have to worry about that. They're dead to him now. I mean, for the future of EA games, who knows what's going to happen?
There you go, there's quite a few things going on there with EA. Let us know what you think down in the comments and like the video if you enjoyed it, and please do subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this every day. You can check out that video right there, right now if you want. Don't know what a video is, and there's a link to Patreon there if you want to support the channel. See you next time.